Howdy, y'all! So, I have been getting a lot of questions from you all on Instagram. I love them. Keep sending them to me. I will be answering them in the next video. I wanted to take the time to talk to you a little bit about my life pre-transition. I think a lot of you are from my Instagram, and I don't talk a lot about that part of my life on Instagram, so I just wanted to give you the chance to get to know me a little bit and just let you know what led me up to this point in my life. I grew up in a fairly typical household, had a mom and a dad. I have two older sisters. My parents met in the Air Force, but we didn't have the typical military experience of just moving around a lot. We settled down in a house in Washington when I was about 4.5. And then we lived there up until last year when my parents sold it. So I had a very stable household. Age 8 was the first time that I remember questioning my own gender. We went to Florida for a family trip. It was my dad's high school reunion, and my parents let me cut my hair short because it was Florida. While we were down there, people kept referring to me as their son, and it wasn't something that bothered me, but I had no way to express that, but I was just like, yeah, cool, I'm their son, whatever. And I kind of just grew up, and everyone thought that I would just grow out of my tomboy phase and just turn into this blossoming, beautiful lady, which did not happen. At 16, I was a sophomore in high school, and we didn't have queer resources. We didn't have a GSA. I had no idea about transition or trans issues or trans related things. The only way that I could think to be more happy with myself was to be masculine, and to be a masculine woman, I thought that I needed to be a lesbian. So at 16, I came out as a lesbian. At college, we did have a GSA. So I started going there every week. And that is where I met my ex-fiance. So she identified at the time as pansexual, and to her that meant that she was attracted to people's personalities, their emotions, the way that they act, versus their bodies and their genitals and that type of thing. So I thought this would be a good relationship for two reasons. First of all, I was attracted to her. I wanted to have a relationship. And two, if I did ever question my gender, it wouldn't be an issue because she identified as pansexual. So we dated for a little while, and I started to open up to her about how I was feeling with my gender. And every time that I kind of brought up transitioning or maybe not being cis, she would say something along the lines of, I fell in love with you as a woman. And that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, seeing as identified as pansexual. And, in my mind, that meant that she should be able to love me no matter what my gender identity. But also just because it felt like she was trying to control me or suppress me. And I didn't have the words for that or the means to leave that relationship. But I just kind of kept going with it and felt like it would get better at some point, or I would just kind of forget that I was having these gender identity issues and it would all just be okay at some point. So at 20, I proposed to her, and we were engaged, we were planning our wedding, everything was happening, and all of a sudden I just got hit with this feeling of I need to come out and I need to start my transition, and if I don't, that's dark. So anyways, I wrote her this letter, which could be seen as a suicide note type of thing. Basically telling her that I needed to transition. It was something that needed to happen in my life. And she just completely turned around. She became my biggest advocate. She scheduled all of my appointments. She called all of the doctor's offices, counselors, all those people that I needed to see to start hormones. And it was really nice, but also kind of weird that she just all of a sudden decided that it was fine and we were going to do this. So I went to the doctor, and August 14th, 2014, maybe 3 or 4 months after I came out officially, I started testosterone. So shortly after starting testosterone, my ex-fiance and I started fighting a little bit more. It didn't really feel like we were fitting together the same way that we used to. We ended up separating. I think a lot of it was due to my transition, but only because I felt more confident in myself and I felt more comfortable with myself. And so now I could see that I needed to be in a healthier relationship with someone who was able to support my decisions and my need to transition. After that breakup, I just started running headfirst into transition. I was just thinking, what do I need to have done and how can I do it the quickest? So something that I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily talk about is that process that you go through as a trans person of questioning what would be best for you or what you need in your transition. So personally for me, when I came out, I thought that if I just say I'm male and that's how I present myself and that's how people see me, that will be enough. I don't need hormones, I don't need surgeries, I'll be fine. I did that for a little while and it wasn't working out. No one was reading me as male. No one in my life really was changing anything, pronouns or names or anything. And so I said, okay, well, in order for me to feel comfortable, I need to be read as male, which means I need to go on testosterone. So I started testosterone and I thought, okay, this will be great. This is all I need. I'm fine with my body. It's great. And things did start to pick up. People did start to read me as male, but I found more and more in my personal life that I was really unhappy with my chest. I wasn't comfortable showering. I couldn't wear the types of clothes that I wanted to. So I decided that I needed to have top surgery. So I am on Regents and they have a trans healthcare policy. So when I called to ask about top surgery, they told me that they had 2 doctors that they covered in Washington State. So one surgeon was in Seattle and the other was Spokane. So it was really, for me, which surgeon could I see sooner for a consultation, who would be able to get me in for surgery the quickest. So I decided to go with the doctor in Seattle, and he was just a plastic surgeon. He had done gynecomastia surgeries before, which is when cis men have too much fat in their breast tissue, but that is more like a keyhole procedure versus me, where I needed to have a double incision because I had double D's. I was basically his first top surgery. He knew the steps that needed to be taken, but he hadn't necessarily performed this exact procedure before. Basically, you can see I have these 2 lines from the double incision. I got my nipple grafts done, and the only things that are kind of like not 100% are these little blood blister pockets. I'm not sure where those came from or what that is, but also usually top surgeons will go like up into this armpit area to get this little pocket of fat out, and he didn't do that. So this little pocket of fat is still here, but it doesn't bother me. So I'm happy with my results. I can go out in public. Nobody says anything about it. So there is my top surgery. I had that October 5th, 2015. Spring following my top surgery is when I graduated from college. Moved back in with my parents after that, and while I was living with my parents is when I had my hysterectomy. So I decided to just go to the same clinic that I went to growing up, which was a Virginia Mason, and luckily their gynecology department there had a doctor who had already performed hysterectomies on other trans men. So I didn't even have to worry about, are they gonna question why this male is in the gynecology department, Are they going to look at me like I'm some weird medical anomaly, which is always something that we have to face when we go to the doctor? So it really, really lessened my anxiety a whole lot. And that doctor ended up being like the funniest lady I've ever met. She just took really good care of me, and I didn't have to worry at all about my surgery. So I had my total laparoscopic hysterectomy September 13th, 2016. Laparoscopic hysterectomy is when they take these little like robot arms and they make just tiny little incisions, look at it like through a video camera, and take everything out that way. So I do have 4 little scars. I don't know if you'll be able to see them, but there's one right here, one right here above my belly button, one here, and then one right here like on my underwear line. Super simple. Out of all of my recoveries, that was the easiest. That was the first time that I had actually spent the night in the hospital, but that was only because they gave me the choice to stay or not, and I just decided to because I just am a big baby. I wanted to stay. My insurance covered it, so I figured why not. That is basically a rough overview of how I got to the point of being able to have bottom surgery. Next installment, I'll go into depth about what bottom surgery was like for me, what complications I've had, where I currently am in terms of surgeries, and what my plans are for the future. So I look forward to seeing you again then. Stay safe and take care of each other.